The 2022 WWE Royal Rumble is now part of the history books. The two winners of the Royal Rumble, the men and women's Royal Rumbles, were the two stars that came into WWE from the UFC. Now, of course, Brock was in WWE first, but that's neither here nor there. Ronda Rousey made her return tonight in the women's Royal Rumble match, eliminating Charlotte and earning herself a shot at a title at WrestleMania. Now, the story now is that it's going to be against Charlotte herself. So we're going to get Rousey against Charlotte because Rousey will be going on SmackDown for Fox. That's what we've been told. The story broke earlier in the week, and it's pretty much confirmed now. Rousey, we knew before the Rumble, and her coming out was a pretty good surprise. Her punches, dude, that's something that needs a lot of work, dude. Like, Ronda's work got better as time went on when she had her first run in 2018 to 2019. But, man, her punches don't look good. And, okay, now, that being said, she did get a pretty good reaction. But how will the next few weeks of TV go? That remains to be seen. And then we have the men's Rumble, which was Brock Lesnar. We're going to talk about that here in a minute. But first, I want to say that there was a lot of good action on this show, but there was also things that I thought were a bit of a letdown. For example, the men's Royal Rumble was a big disappointment. There were a couple of surprises, Brock being one of them and Shane McMahon being the other. I wasn't expecting Shane McMahon. There really weren't any other big surprises. And when you look at this Royal Rumble, you can really see that a lot of these guys are just not over. In fact, they had this Rumble structured in a kind of a weird way. It was the last match of the show, and the women's Rumble I thought was better. Not by much, but it was better. There were more like mistakes made in that, especially with the women that were coming back from being gone for a while. But the men's Rumble just felt very dry, and I think the reason for that's because WWE does a poor job of getting guys over to the top level that really they saved all their top guys for like the last 10 guys, like Riddle, Randy Orton, Lesnar, obviously, Shane, Drew McIntyre. They all came in at the end. You had a few guys earlier in the show like AJ and Sheamus and guys like that, but they kind of saved all their big guns for the end. So the first 19 guys in the Rumble just felt very drab. You had Johnny Knoxville coming in, having his little moment with Sami Zayn. We knew that was going to happen. You had a few spots here and there. I think Kofi Kingston may have botched his spot. I don't think he was supposed to get eliminated there. And outside of that, there weren't that many great moments. I mean, they had like a little moment in the match where Corbin and Moss were throwing guys out. Like they threw out AJ Styles and a few other guys. And then Drew made his big return. That was kind of a shocker, and he threw them out. And then Drew was actually the last guy in there before Brock threw him out. So Brock was number 30, which of course begs the question: How did Brock, get a Royal Rumble number if he was in the championship match? Remember, in the storylines, at least in the past, the Royal Rumble numbers were decided either earlier in the night or early in the day. How did Brock get that number 30 spot? That should be a story they go into, soon. But besides that, we had opening the show Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. Now I love this match. The match was amazing. The work in the match was great. Seth Rollins comes out to the old Shield music wearing the Shield armor and wrestled the match kind of like this. He was kind of a babyface. He was getting cheered like a star, and he was kind of making fun of Roman, and Roman was getting more and more mad. And the match ended. The match finished. The match was great, but the finish was very the finish was, we need to come up with something to keep this feud going. That's what that finish was. And what happened was Roman had Seth in the guillotine. Seth grabs the ropes. Roman does not release the hold, and the referee disqualifies him. Very, very flat finish. I hate DQ finishes on pay-per-view. They should have just had Roman win, but they had to, preserve the finish to do a rematch, probably at the Saudi Arabia show. Or whatever, maybe on SmackDown. So they came up with the DQ. I don't like it. I thought it was... I was very let down because the match was great, but the finish was ass. Do not like these DQ finishes on pay-per-views. It's a very antiquated thing. They could have come up with a better finish, but the match itself had great work. The match itself was stellar. Then you have... we then had the Women's Royal Rumble, which saw Mickie James coming out as the Impact World Champion. They actually called her that with the hardcore country music. That was surprising, but cool. You had Lita coming back, which we kind of knew, Summer Rae. You had Ivory and the Right to Censor gimmick. That was cool. Melina Perez was there. Also, Cameron came back. I was very let down that Cameron was in this match with Melina and Alicia Fox and didn't do something with them. That would have been awesome. That would have been... There's a reference for you from the past, from the deep past. I just feel like, man, like... The women's match just felt a lot more fun, and it was structured better. Like, I thought the women's Royal Rumble match was more fluid. Granted, the men maybe had less botches, I think. But a lot of these girls have not wrestled in a very, very long time. Like, they haven't wrestled in a long time, so they're not going to, like, have that natural ring awareness. Then you have a worker like Ivory, who's a great worker. She didn't even get to work. She was just out there cutting a promo and then got comically thrown out. Rhea Ripley and Charlotte really had to carry this match, and Sasha actually carried it for the first few minutes. For the first, like, maybe 7 or 8, I want to say, something like that, she carried it. Don't really remember, but I actually liked the women's Rumble more than the men. I liked it more. I actually liked the Ronda Rousey, Shayna Baszler, their interaction. That was cool, maybe for a match later on. Also, I forgot to mention, both the Bella twins came back here, and that was also interesting. Seeing them in there, and I mean, they're not going to do much because they're mothers now, and Ronda is too, but they'll come back once in a while. I think what made the women's match better is that they actually did whip out some surprises, and they utilized them a lot better. The men's Royal Rumble only had 3 surprises, and one of them was Drew, who we just saw a month ago, and the other one was Shane, who we hadn't seen him in almost a year, and then we have Brock. So that's pretty much it. And the rest of the roster, like, it's such a thin roster. You have guys like Corbin, and you have guys like Moss getting all this offense. Riddle did great, but he could have done more. I felt he could have done a lot more. AJ had to carry the first half of this match. Ricochet went in there, didn't really do much. Like, there's potential with these guys, but they're just not... It's just not connecting for me. Like, the Rumble just felt like it wasn't quite as bad as the 2012 Rumble, but it was up there. Like, a lot of these guys are either TV old or they just haven't been. They've had their balls cut off by WWE, and it's very hard to take them seriously as possible Rumble winners. Once Brock came out at number 30, I mean, I had already known Brock was going to win, but once he actually came out at 30. Everybody in the building knew. Like, there wasn't a single person in that building, except for maybe a kid, who didn't know he was going to win the Rumble. It was just obvious. We also saw Becky Lynch and Doudrop. This match went a little bit too long, man. It went like maybe 5 minutes too long. At one point in the match, I'm like, okay, this has to end now. And it kept going, I know they wanted to give Doudrop some offense, and Becky Lynch is good for that, but it really wasn't that necessary, and the finish was good though. I like her rock bottom Uranagi move, whatever it's called, from the second rope. That was good stuff. I knew the name of the moves on the tip of my tongue, and now I forgot. Ugh, hate when that happens. We also had Edge and Beth Phoenix against Miz and Maurice. This was okay, I mean, for what it was. I thought that it was cool seeing Edge with his wife out there. I bet they both were having a good time. They had some pretty good psychology, but at this point, like, as I'm watching the show, I think this was bad match placement. I think this should have gone on second because I was just waiting for the Rumble. Like, I'm watching this match and I'm like, okay, I'm happy to see Edge. Like, I love him. Miz and Maurice are funny. Beth is great. I had no problem with them at all, and it's a continuation of their feud from before. But it's like, man, like, let's get to the Rumble. And then so what happened was, Edge and Beth Phoenix won. They double speared Miz and did the glam slam on each other on Edge on Miz and Beth on Maurice, and then Edge got the pinfall. So that Maurice and Miz have wrestled like Bryan and Breed, John Cena and Nikki Bella, and they never win. They always lose, but it's always a good time. I think Miz genuinely likes teaming up with his wife, and that's cool. Like, no issue there. This show started off having some great potential. That stadium, the Edward Jones Stadium or whatever in St. Louis, it has a different name, but it used to be called the Edward Jones Dome. Great stadium for wrestling, great atmosphere the whole night. The crowd was into it. The opening match was fire. I mean, Roman and Seth was really, really, really good. Told a great story. It's just, it's one of those things where, the show overall, like maybe because I knew Brock was going to win, it did feel a bit flat. Just being honest, it kind of, maybe I was hoping for more from Lesnar or maybe more surprises, but ultimately it just didn't. It was okay. There was highlights. There were highlights on here, but I would put it at not one of my favorite Rumble pay-per-views. The women's Rumble, though, was probably about as good as maybe the one from 2019, I would say. I forgot to mention Bobby Lashley and Brock Lesnar. Okay, I like this match. I like the fact that they were doing the suplex. I liked Roman's interference. I liked Paul Heyman, how he handed the belt to Roman. That was good. They did that damn corner spot again with the spear, but this time Lesnar moved out of the way. I like this match. I kind of wanted more of it. And now Bobby Lashley is back being the champion again because of the fact that Paul Heyman helped Roman Reigns turn on Brock, which was the original plan finish for day one. So they managed to course correct it, and now we're back on the road to WrestleMania again with Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar on their way to headline the show from Dallas, Texas. Night 2 will be Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns, where probably Brock will put over Roman finally at WrestleMania 1, 2, 3. And that's probably what's going to happen, but who really knows? Who really knows at this point? Along with Ronda Rousey, Charlotte on night 1. So that is the plan as of right now. Let's see where things go. Over on the Raw side, Bobby Lashley is now the WWE champion. He's definitely turning babyface. He was out there shaking fans' hands, and him and Lesnar had a really, really great video package that was building to their match. Really, really good stuff. Yeah, overall, I mean, there were things I enjoyed. I think the Lashley-Lesnar match was probably the best match of the night besides Roman Reigns and Seth, but that had the worst finish. But those two matches I thought were good. I thought those were good. The Women's Rumble was probably worth watching once, but it's an hour of your time, you know what I mean? And that's a long time. Anyways, what did you think about the 2022 Royal Rumble? Again, decent show, but not definitely a disappointment, and it definitely felt flat, at least to me. That's it. Thanks for watching. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.